Good morning. It's time to learn and grow. I'm Alana, and I'm super grateful to be here today with Laura Loynab. Laura is a certified dog trainer and canine nutritionist, and she's the founder of Good Human, Better Dogs. She helps people build better relationships with their dogs through training, nutrition, and care. Anyways, I'm so excited to have you on today to share your journey, your experiences, and any advice you have. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with me here today.
Thank
Uh,
you for inviting me, Alana.
and of course, so let's get started.
Okay.
Um, so anyways, why dogs and what's the difference between what you do and just walking them? I'm really interested.
What's the difference between what I'm doing and just walking a dog? So, what I do is mostly I address the brain, and it's trying to create a channel of communication between humans and a different species, which is dogs. And the issue nowadays is that everyone has a dog, but most people believe that having a dog is just communicating with them as if they're humans. So my mission and my whole purpose behind my business and what we do is to create better relationships by improving their communication between humans and dogs. They have different ways of communicating, and I've studied a lot of dog psychology and the brain and animal behavior in order for me to provide a service that people can actually have a mutual channel of communication and understanding, and then therefore build a better relationship with their dogs, and the dogs have a better life. They thrive in the human world, they have better understanding, and they develop less of the behavioral issues that are common nowadays, like anxiety, reactivity, fear, low confidence, etc.
Got it. That makes sense. And is that what Good Humans, Better Dogs, is that what you do there?
So, Good Human, Better Dogs was the initial idea because we wanted to highlight the concept that in order for you to have a good dog, you had to first focus on yourself. And I think that's a philosophy that just goes to show that in order for you to see good things outside in the world, you also have to work on yourself first, right? And therefore, we started growing. We seek way more education, way more knowledge. We got our puppy that you have met, Gaia, and she's honestly a very challenging dog. She's really high driven. And we wanted to understand her better. We wanted her to train her in a way that we didn't break her confidence, which is what most people would do when the dog is really hard, really confident, and really eager and high driven and motivated. What they do is that they just break the dog. And we didn't want to do that. So we seek knowledge, education, we learn from the best. And this is a perspective that we get from jujitsu, right? If you want to be good at something, you have to learn from the best. So we seek world champions in protection sports, get private lessons with them. I went through seminar certifications with the best in the fields. Um, and then we just transfer and transition to a new concept, which is Canum. And we became Canum Canine. And Canum is just a mix of words that come to say that it's more like connection, roots related, and it comes from the word canis, which is in Latin, which is my roots and my origin, right? So it's mostly focusing on that connection that the dogs can develop with the humans from a very primal perspective. And then we can learn to communicate with them.
So I like how that, like those two ideas kind of merged and how one
Mhm.
grew from another. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Another topic, what is do you do like dog lessons with like trainers and dogs, and what does that look like?
So so in dog training, and this is a very interesting topic. A lot of people think that dog training, and this is funny because when we go to do evaluations of dogs, people are like, "Oh, my dog knows how to give the paw," and it's like, no, it's not that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, great. And it's like, no, it's people usually, even the term, I don't like it, it's not dog training. It's more like understanding and relationship building. So it looks like different in many ways. It depends on what we're gonna address. We specialize a lot in what we believe is what the world needs the most, which is behavior modification. And behavior modification, think of it as dogs that have issues because they're misunderstood. So, for example, dogs that are reactive because they don't understand the leash, and the leash has a specific way of being taught and they have a language. But what do most humans do? Oh, it's a leash. I'll clip it on the dog, and then they just automatically have to understand. And it's not like that, right? Think of the leash, and we explain this as a sign language. So it's a language that I don't speak, but I can communicate with the dog through the leash. When we go and we see the evaluation and we see the dogs, people think that dog training, going back to what I was saying, they think that dog training is just commands and it's having a robot and it's like, sit down, stay. And that's really boring. That's not what we believe is having a good dog. You still want a dog to be a dog. You want a dog to have fun. You want a dog to thrive. You want a dog to be confident, to be happy, right? So what we teach and what we do mostly is that we teach the human that it's not about what you think, that it's creating a little robot, that it's just like under control all the time. No, it's more about you learning how to communicate with this species and build a cool relationship that you're going to have mutual understanding for the rest of your lives. And it's a skill that we teach, and we have options. We can do one-on-one sessions that we call them 1-2-1, which is us, the handler, and the dog, and then the handler, right? Um, but we also have some boarding options. We rather teach the people so they can build the skill, and then they can learn that through their work and their reps and their effort, they build that connection and that relationship. A lot of dog trainers, what they do is that they take board and trains, and sometimes we do that, but they have to have certain tasks and homework done before we take a dog as if it's one of ours. It's a privilege. And the reason why I believe that learning a personalized 1-to-1 and we teach you how to do it, it's because it builds the value or of putting in the reps, the effort, the consistency, and the discipline to build that connection and that relationship. Make sense?
When you board a dog, do you keep it with you? And kind of like a boarding school, that's what I thought of. Or do
So
you, go ahead.
Usually, yeah. So usually when we do the board and train, we keep the dog with you. A lot of people, they, for example, and it has like each dog is unique, right? And each situation is different. I cannot generalize just the system and just the way of training because it's not fair. Just like as we as humans, we're different and you have your needs and you have your way of learning, dogs are the same. When we do the board and train, what we do is that we require certain prerequisites, like for people to be able to leave the dog with us. Like the dog, we teach them, we have private lessons first to teach them how to start creating that channel of communication with the dog. And then the dog stays with us for a certain amount of time. And it depends on the goals with the dog and what the people need from their dog, right? Now, it also matters because when we do the board and train, mostly it's for behavior modification, which is we're taking the dog out of its routine, where it has all of its issues and where it's used to all these bad habits, and we're taking it to a sterile environment where we're providing communication, we're providing a new environment free of all these things that used to be triggers for the dog previously. So, for example, there's a dog that has no limits, no boundaries, no structure at home. And you can also think of it as like people that you know, like people your age, you've seen, you're like, whoa, why are their parents letting them
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah,
like,
I've seen that before, yeah.
yeah, or like things like, for example, and I'll tell you from my perspective, I was raised to be really respectful towards elder people, right? To call them in Spanish, you call them like don, doña before you call their name. When you're gonna ask for something, you ask them politely. You don't go over your like friend's house and you're opening the fridge like if it's your house or stuff like that. So think of this situation applied to a dog situation. Sometimes when we see and we do the evaluation, we see things like dogs that have no structure. So it's just a dog doing whatever they want. And when the dog doesn't have that guidance or structure, then they start developing all these issues. They're anxious because they don't have that leadership. They don't know like what to do. They run away. They don't want to be close to their owner because there's no trust, there's no communication. And then most of the times what we realize is that even though people say like, "Oh no, my dog loves me." I'm like,
Oh,
"Are you
I've heard
sure?"
that before. Are you sure?
Yeah,
Yeah.
are you sure? And I was like, "Yeah, but my dog doesn't like to play." Oh, okay. So I grab a toy, and because I know how to communicate with the dog, and it's like a superpower, it's super cool. I feel like, oh yeah, you're gonna see me. Your dog can play, right? So I grab the dog and I start just addressing body language, applying certain type of pressure, which the dog can take or cannot take. So seeing where the dog is at according to their situation. Um, and yeah, that's mostly it. It's like we're not making robots. We're building communication to develop better relationships. So sometimes we take the dog, sometimes we don't. But when we take the dog, part of the program is that they also have to commit to private sessions. The
The
difference,
owners or the dogs?
the owners with the dogs. So it's
Mm.
all like together, right? Because we build value in the effort that it takes in order for you to build that relationship. It's like, I don't know, a mother having a baby and then they leave their baby, so someone else raises the baby and the baby is perfect. And then they're like, okay, now give me my baby. Now that my baby has manners and my baby can potty, like, you know, and then they bring the baby to the mother and the baby doesn't even recognize the mother. It's like, who were you? You weren't there for that process of me learning, right? There's no relationship.
Right, yeah.
Um, and that's an important thing to say too, right? Like people get a puppy and they're like, I want my puppy to be perfect. And it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
baby. Like you need to develop first a relationship. And I'm not gonna take a puppy and have that puppy just feel betrayed because I built a better relationship with it and then just give it away. It's not fair for the dog, right?
It'd be
So
like giving him to a stranger, right? Because, yeah.
exactly. And it's a stranger, the stranger becomes the owners and the handlers because I know I'm capable of building a really good connection, a really good relationship. So with puppies, mostly what we do is something that's called hybrid. So we take the dog, but we're also like taking it, giving it to the owners, teaching the owners, taking it again, teaching it, giving it to the owners. So it's kind of like a take and learn and come to me. It's more dynamic in that aspect.
Got it. So it's kind of like a cycle. So it's not like just with you the whole time. It kind of goes back and forth, right?
Yeah, that specifically when they're puppies,
Got it. That
because
makes sense.
it's crucial for the puppy to build a relationship and to understand that these are your handlers. This is your pack, right? Like I'm here to help you, but this is your pack.
That makes sense.
Hmm.
So now that I know we were talking about just puppies, I'm kind of curious, what about like the older dogs? Like maybe, and I'm just gonna make this analogy because you were talking about kids. Maybe if you have like a 12-year-old that acts super badly, how would you handle that?
So, of course, and that's a very smart question. Of course, it's hard because if you think about it, what we're trying to address are habits that have been built over years. So it's bad rep after bad rep after bad rep after bad rep. And an example and an analogy that I like to explain to people when they come to me with older dogs, expecting for the dogs to be fixed, which is not even fair to say it. It's not an object, it's not something you fix, something that you help, right? Is that imagine you're digging this hole and you dig this hole and you keep digging this hole, and it's been 12 years of you just going deep into this hole and you're not even doing anything. This is your normal behavior. This hole is just going deeper, right? When we teach you and we start addressing those behavioral issues, our main purpose, the first one, is to start building a little bit of dirt and filling that hole with little bits and little bits and little bits of dirt to try to even match the depth of that hole and make it even. And only after that is done, we can keep teaching the same habits in order for the dog to start having better reps than the bad reps that it had for all those years.
It must take a long time though, right? Especially if it's
It
older.
does, but it's not impossible. That's when the consistency and the effort of the handler come in place. And a lot of people are willing to work with it. We just worked with a 9-year-old dog and we started our session. And I see this dog is really capable. I think she's very capable, and I think she's going to have huge changes in her life just because her motivation is so strong for the toy, and I've seen it, and I'm building this motivation in a structured manner with the handlers. Instead of just leaving the toy and letting the dog play all day and have this for free, I'm teaching the dog, you're going to get this and you're going to get this fulfillment instead of being reactive and crazy with other dogs. I'm going to teach you how to get this. It's like you like to fight, right? You like to do jujitsu. It's not the same if I tell you, okay, Alana, no more jujitsu, no more wrestling. You're just going to go for a walk every day.
That
You're
sounds
like,
boring and weird. Yeah.
oh, you're like, I need that like excitement, right? I need that that endorphin building in me, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it can happen. You can help a dog with so many years of bad reps. It can happen, but again, I cannot generalize. Sometimes it's doable, sometimes maybe we're gonna just address certain things and give the dog a little bit more structure so they live a better life. But it's not impossible. It's a lot about the brain and the psychology and how we address and seek the motivation of this dog.
Got it. That makes sense for sure. So younger dogs, older dogs. I really like that analogy of how you're like filling a hole and trying to build a big hill on top of that. I think that's really
Yeah,
interesting.
for sure.
Um, what about when so I have a dog, or I know a dog, and he's really well trained, but he's on kind of that regular schedule, like walk, eat, and he's I think like I think 10 or 11.
Okay.
He like goes on walks, he kind of sits at home. Is that a well-trained dog, or is that just kind of like a dog who's on a schedule and is just kind of there?
So you have to see it on the dog's emotion as well, right? We like to think about it. Is the dog truly happy, or is the dog just like, whatever, this is my life, and the dog is just bored? And I preach a lot about fulfillment in a dog's life, especially with senior dogs, because it's just like the humans, right? If you just have this routine, that you can have healthy routines for sure, but if your routine is just boring and doing the same thing and there's no like excitement or no fun and no like real physical activity or fulfillment of whatever your genetics need, then I would say your dog is just falling apart faster, right? If I let my senior dog just stay at home and sleep where she loves to sleep all day, and I don't take her out and expose her to the world and bring her out with my clients and bring her to the pool to do new things and enjoyment, right? That's when like depression starts coming in, right? And it's the same with humans. If you don't go out there and you experience the world and you start isolating yourself and you have just this boring A, B, and C routine that is expected every day, there's no joy, there's no excitement in living, right? It's just like, oh, I'm just waiting to die. And
Oh, that's
it
sad.
is. And some people don't see it like that, but it also depends. If the dog is content and the dog is chill and living a peaceful life, then I can say that's okay. But most of the cases, what people do is like, oh, my dog is old, whatever. They don't want to walk. Not me. You've seen Cora. She's 9.5, and I take her to the pool. She needs to deal with her fears and she needs to learn to swim. I take her near my reactive dogs that I work with. Like, it's keeping that spirit alive, right? I think it's more like an an emotion that you need to build and that excitement for living. Because once you tell them like, oh, life is just this, A, B, and C, then there's no eager, like there's no impulse, no excitement for that life.
That makes sense.
That's my
Um,
perspective. I'm not saying whatever I say here is like many people have different perspectives on dog training,
yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
But that's what I believe in.
That makes a lot of sense. And I guess now that I'm thinking about it, Like maybe you shouldn't treat a dog. Well, because my first perspective was like dogs are totally different than humans and, walk, eat, sleep, that's it.
No.
But now that yeah, now that I'm learning a little bit more, now it's like, oh, you should treat them more like you would your own child, like expose them to things and
Yeah,
have them
yeah.
learn and try new things. Is that correct?
Yep. You have to expose your dog. And for example, a really interesting thing that you're gonna be like, whoa, a lot of people think socializing a dog, and this really matters. And I really highlight this with clients and new clients. People are like, oh, I want my dog to be social. I want to socialize my dog. And what they mean by socializing their dog is that they want a social butterfly. They want like a dog that's like friendly with every dog and friendly with every person they see and like going and shaking
Mm.
their tail.
That's not
And
always the case though, right?
no,
Especially when it's new.
yeah, and genetics matter a lot. That's just the little bugs and stuff.
It's okay.
Usually it's really real in here. Usually what happens when you teach a dog that everything else has more value than you as the handler, then that's when problems start creating. That's when things start happening with bad problems and behavioral issues start happening. So again, let me put an example. Let's say your parents teach you that every single person that you meet on the street, when you meet them, they give you candy. When they meet you, they give you like snacks and they give you the best thing in the
That
world.
sounds weird. That sounds really
Yeah.
weird. That
And
sounds
then
creepy.
it is. And then no, 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 come here. Yeah, meet her, Alana. Yeah, Alana. Humans are very good. Trust everyone. Be really friendly with them. So then I'm creating a lot of arousal towards that external stimuli. But then I'm
Yeah,
diminishing the value of me as your handler. And eventually, again, going back to the example, people go and clip the leash, and then everything else has a lot of value. I was a cute puppy. Everyone was telling me how cute I was. Now I clip the leash. You're a grown dog, and you want to interact with these people, and these people don't have the same, like, oh, a puppy with me, but you want
mm,
it. And I'm just antagonizing this with the leash because I never taught you leash skills. I never taught you how to speak this language. And I'm just creating that conflict between you and me because you want to be with them. You don't want to be with me because I taught you to be with everyone else but with me. And now I'm the one who's damaging the relationship because I don't let you go to these people or these dogs. So
interesting.
is socializing is a really important term that people usually don't understand. I don't even remember the question because I went all over the place with the topic because I think it's a
That's
really
okay.
important
Me
topic.
neither.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Would
basically, socializing the dog is, in the ideal that you want, is a neutral dog. It's a dog that knows how to be around people and how to be around dogs without any reaction, just like, well, whatever, I don't care. That's another dog. That's another human.
that makes sense. So just to make sure I'm understanding this correctly, you don't want them to have those kinds of interactions where everyone's like fawning over the dog and like petting it and things like that. Would you rather have your dog like stay at attention and make sure they're listening and not interacting too much? Is that what you mean?
So it's important for the dog to learn to interact with dogs. But the problem is that people say, I want my dog to be very friendly and I want to be able for my dog to play with every dog. And not every dog is like that. Just like if you see it, even with people your age, there's,
Yeah.
there's kids that they don't want to be friends with everyone. There's kids that they're like, yeah, I'm like the butterfly of this class. I want to be friends with everyone. They talk to everyone. It's really natural from them. Even like, and you can see it between you and your brother. You might have your differences, right?
Yeah,
You
for
can
sure.
be
We
friendly
totally are.
or you can be comfortable with people, or then your brother can be like, nah, I don't want to be with a lot of people, right? So what I mean by this is also paying attention to your dog, their specific needs, if they feel comfortable or not, and then also putting them in situations that might just develop a lot of stress instead of what you're trying to seek, which would build the opposite.
Like exposure therapy, kind of?
Yeah, it can be something like that, but you also have to learn to read your dog, recognize your dog. What do they want? So people are like, I have, and a lot of behavioral issues happen when people take their dogs to dog parks, which
Oh,
don't
interesting.
take your dog to dog parks. It's the worst that you can do.
Huh.
Now they're like, oh, but he's happy. I was like, how do you know? Oh, because he's chasing the ball every time I'm throwing it. I was like, he's not happy. He's just in this anxious cycle of chasing the ball back and forth, back and forth, back and forth because he doesn't want to interact with the dogs.
Interesting.
Now, think of the dog park, and I'm going way farther than what you asked me, but I think it's a really cool topic for you to highlight.
For
Think of
sure.
the dog park as a prison. You're just there. You're just abducted by aliens.
Is that true even if your dog is interacting with other dogs though? Like kids at
Yeah.
a playground, kind of?
Yeah, imagine you just go to this playground, your parents just throw you there, and you cannot get out, and you're like in this jail, and you have kids that are mean, just running around. There's no one there saying, like, there's not like a professor in class saying, like, don't do that, don't do this, don't do no, you have this is free will. Kids are like going crazy, running, punching other kids, and there's nothing
Oh,
happening.
yikes.
That's a nightmare, right?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine.
And now imagine if you're like a dog that's not built to be around other dogs. You don't like it. You just like to chill. You're a chill dog, right? And I'm like, oh, I want you to make friends. Go. And I throw you. The dog is like, and then a dog starts chasing me. And then God forbid a dog just attacks me, right?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds uncomfortable for the dog, at least.
Yeah. And it's like the problem is that usually, and we tend to think with human emotion. We tend to think with a human mindset. And it has a word, I just don't know how to pronounce it. Anthropomize. I
I
don't
don't
even
know. I've
know.
never heard of that.
Well, that's the word. My accent is killing me here.
That's okay. That's interesting because at first when you said dog park, I was like, oh, kids at a playground. And I remember I still love going to playgrounds. So I was like, oh, you're gonna say dogs love dog parks, right? But no, I was wrong. That's okay. But
No.
now that I think about it, at least when you're at a playground, you can like interact with your parents and like
Mm-hmm.
other kids through words instead of just, well, actually, I don't know. Barking is kind of like a sound, but it must be different, right?
It's just you're immersed in a place that it's enclosed with many different backgrounds. So, for example, let's say you're around a child who, I don't know, was raised with this religious perspectives. You were around a child that was raised with other political views. You were around a child that, and that's too serious, but let's say a child that doesn't have manners, a
Mm.
child that was never taught that hitting females is not okay. Like
Yeah,
children that are dirty, that they're like picking their nose and like it's just crazy. It's like it's craziness encapsulated.
in a dog park.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And pl kids playgrounds aren't like that. They're totally
Yeah.
different, right?
I know. I was a
Yeah.
child at one point too.
That makes sense. So dog owners should not bring their dogs to dog parks now, right?
No, no. So we
Okay.
do like proper, for example, we do group, I'm sorry, I think that was me. We do group classes, and what we do is proper socialization in school because what we work with is reactive dogs, is dogs that don't like other dogs for A, B, C, whatever circumstances they have, right?
Right.
Uh, but what we teach the dogs is that they can be calm, they can chill, they can be with their owner around other dogs, but
Interesting.
they just have to be able to accept this. And it's like, oh, there's a dog there, whatever. And at the beginning, some of the dogs might just hate it and bark and be crazy. And, but you'll see it. Like eventually, we just had a class this weekend. It's an evolution, right? The dogs were like crazy and tense, and it was like their first time doing it. And then by the end of the class, they were all chilling with their owners on their own space, and there were dogs around, and none of them were reacting. So it's like you were saying, right? A little bit of exposure, but also it needs management, and the owners need to know what they're doing, and that's why we're here.
That makes sense. And when you were talking about the group classes and how dogs are like calm around strangers, that made me think of, like the iconic dog barking at the mailman and like other dogs. So that's a bad thing, right? You should train your dog to be calm and not bark at people.
So it depends on your purpose. Remember, I told you there's like many types of modalities in the dog world, right?
Right.
I'll give you a quick example. For example, I have Gaia. Gaia is a German Shepherd, and her genetics are built for protection,
Mm.
which means she can be a really kind of like neurotic dog towards things approaching her fast, towards new situations. She's like, in genetically, she's made to react to those things, right? Because it's a protection dog. Now, look at the difference. If I show you, for example, a really friendly lab or golden retriever, something happened like, oh, let's play, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I
The
guess that
German
makes
Shepherd,
sense.
yeah, the German
They can
Shepherd's
be
like,
different.
whoa, don't come and be too close because you'll get a taste of what it's like, right?
Right.
So part of responsible handler ownership is knowing the breed that you're getting, understanding the genetic trait and what they need to fulfill that trait, but also teaching them context. So, teaching my dog there's a time and a place where you can fulfill this genetic trait, and there's a time and a place that you can absolutely not. And that is my responsibility as a human handler. So, for example, my dog knows after I say a certain command or certain cue when I take her out of the crate, if she's going to go and do some bite work. My dog knows if I say certain cue that she's going to go and jump in the pool. But she also knows if I ask her, and this is something that I have to work a lot with her because her genetics for protection are very strong. They come from a bloodline of protection that is intense. But my duty and my responsibility is to teach her to chill around chaos. When I'm chill, she needs to chill. And that's part of why I bring her to the academy because there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of sound, there's a lot of kids running, there's a lot of noise. But if she trusts me and we develop a good communication system, she's not going to be neurotic and reacting to everything, right?
Right. Got it. So just so I understand, it depends on genetics, among other factors. So Gaia, you'd have to work more with her than those other species, breeds you mentioned, like a Lab or Golden Retriever, right?
Yes.
So
So,
it just depends.
yes, it depends on genetics and it also depends on your goals because a lot of people, for example, and I'm sure you've heard this, oh my God, I really want a pit bull.
Mm,
Like,
oh yeah,
ooh, why you want a pit bull? You know what the pit
because
bulls
they look
were,
cool.
yeah, you know why pit bulls were bred for?
No, I
So,
don't.
so there were fight dogs.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So then they get scared when the pit bull bites, when the pit bull fights, and the pit bull enjoys the fight. But the problem is that on top of not giving this dog structure, I'm also not giving them fulfillment of this thing that they were bred for, right?
Yeah,
The same example. I was like, Alana, I'm just gonna put you there and like go for a walk, and that's how you're gonna get your physical activity of the day. And you're like, no, I need more.
yeah, that's true. And I'm
Now,
sure they get antsy if they don't get that.
so part of behavioral issues in the future is because their genetic traits are not fulfilled. And that's what we try to teach people. Like you can fulfill your dog genetic trait by learning to play with your dog, by applying certain types of pressure that your dog can accept and they thrive on that. You've seen me when I play with Gaia. And it's funny when I take her to public spaces and I play with her, a lot of people just look at me scared and like they're like, oh, she's hitting the dog. And I'm like, I'm punching her with
No.
the dog because she loves it. She enjoys it. I like slap her in her butt and she comes and she jumps on me and she growls, but it's part of the dog behavior and the dog communication. She growls because she's aroused, because she's having fun.
Mm.
And the growls when she's having fun and she's enjoying something that I'm giving her fulfillment are different than the growls when she wants to bite something because she's scared of something or because something kind of like got her out of her place, right?
That makes sense.
So Yeah, a lot of it is understanding the breed that you're getting and investigating, doing your research about that breed. And most of it is seeing if this breed adapts to your lifestyle or not.
Yeah. So if I just wanted a dog for like companionship, maybe getting a pit bull would be the best option.
No.
Okay.
So, and it depends again. Sorry, I just dropped
That's okay.
some juice in here, some water. It depends, right? Like I cannot generalize like everything. I cannot tell you like every single pit bull is gonna be like this, or every single shepherd or every single Malinois is gonna be like this. But the likeliness of this pit bull to behave this way, it's higher than if you get an English bulldog that is just meant to like be lazy and be with you and chill, or a golden retriever. Like golden retrievers are friendlier, are more like ha 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 happy, but they also have genetic traits that need to be fulfilled. Like they love to swim, they love to play, they love to retrieve. So people get shocked when a golden retriever or a Labrador comes to them with a dead rat inside of their mouth or a
That's
dead,
genetics though, right?
yeah, they're retrieving stuff for you.
That makes sense. Oh, I
So
just thought of this, but that's kind of like how cats are, right? They bring you dead mice
yeah,
and things like that.
yeah,
That's a
they're proud.
similarity.
They're proud of it. It's part of their cats. They're cats. They come from all this lineage of cats, you know. They like to chase things. They're high prey animals.
That makes sense. Um, just I had a question about when, so you mentioned how you were playing with your dog and all the owners were like staring at you just because you were doing it a different way.
Yeah.
And you also mentioned how she was growling even though she was like enjoying her time and having fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do other owners or how can they tell whether their dog is growling out of like
So a lot of it,
happiness or any
yeah,
other emotion?
a lot of it goes from understanding canine behavior and body language. But for example, dog barks have different meaning. And many people just see like, oh, the dog is barking. It's like, no, they have different meaning. The way that their tail goes, the way that they have the piloerectile hair in here when it goes up, it has a meaning if the hair goes up right behind their neck, or if it has a meaning when it goes from the top of their head to the bottom of their tail. The way that they're standing, their eyes, if their eyes are looking very white, we call them like whale eyes, the ears and how they're positioned. There's so many things that go behind it that it's really crazy and cool to see at the same time when the dog owners see their dogs playing, for example. They're like, whoa, I've never seen my dog being like this. There's this dog that we're working right now that it's a boxer. And it's funny, the owner, she's a jujitsu friend. And I tell her, I'm like, dude, just play with your dog, and your dog likes intensity. Bring the intensity. How would you feel if you train every single round and everyone lets you win all the time? I said, that's boring. I said,
Yeah,
you
that's
some
true.
intensity.
That is really boring.
Yeah, so it also depends on the dog and how I'm reading it in that moment, right? So I start playing with the dog and I apply certain types of pressure and I try to see the dog how it's responding to certain things that I'm doing. And when the dog takes it and understands that this is a game, oh my God, Alana is so cool. You see them, they're like a whole new world just open in front of their eyes. They have these feelings just allowed in their life. They can feel this way. They can growl. They can like bite something. They can jump on you. So for them, it's like, whoa, I'm allowed to feel this way and not being punished, which is what most dog trainers do. They just punish the emotional state of the dog.
Mm. So like when they growl, they'll say like, don't growl. Like, do you think
Yeah.
that's a bad thing? Or is
So
it more like emotion?
no, and tell me if I'm talking too much. I can talk for hours about dog behavior and training.
Of course. No, no, it's super interesting. No worries.
Okay, so, and if you need me to repeat something because I said it and it's not quite understandable, let me know. So there's types of training, right, in the dog training world. And again, I don't even like to call it dog training. I think it's just lame to be called dog training. But anyways, There's training that is very compulsive, which means it's taught with a lot of force and a lot of fear.
Mm.
And what they do is that they teach the animal with fear. So they make a low confident, fearful dog able to respond to me just because it's afraid of the consequences.
Oh
And
yeah, that doesn't sound very good or the best
no,
way.
and not necessarily because the dog understands, just because the dog doesn't want this consequence. Now, I'm not going to say that's a method that you can use for certain things. Like, for example, if the dog is running towards the street and the dog's life is a risk, and he has had many reps of that, I'm going to use clearly and averse it because I rather my dog learn a harsh lesson and not cross the street and not die than to just risk it, right?
Right.
Now, there's types of training, like I was telling you, that's a really compulsive training. And what they do, and this is really old school, but a lot of people teach that way because they don't seek education and they think this is training dogs. And what they do is that just base the training on fear and punishment. So what they do is that they teach the dog with fear and punishment. And that's not a way of teaching a dog. That's not a way of teaching anyone, not in any living creature in this world. Imagine if you're learning jujitsu, you're learning a move, and every time you're doing something wrong, I'm grabbing a leather belt and I'm just hitting you with it. You're like, this
Yeah,
is
that doesn't sound,
fun.
I don't think I'd learn like that.
No, you would be terrified. You wouldn't even enjoy doing jujitsu. Be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, again, this experience, right?
just doing it kind of would feel like a punishment.
Exactly. So you just said it. You're so smart, Alana. You just said it. So life just becomes miserable. It just becomes punishment, and you're just there out of fear. And imagine where your confidence is,
It's nowhere, right?
right?
You don't have
Because
any.
you cannot be yourself. Anything you do, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna get punished. Oh, it's bad. Oh, it's bad. And it's really interesting to see because when you see trainers that they train the dogs this way, the dogs don't look happy. The dogs are just like bored, like, okay, I'm alive, but I wish I wasn't, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
There's other types of training, and then you have the total opposite, which is the people that preach force-free, only positive reinforcement. And this is just a marketing scam. Because think of it, it's easier for me to sell you your dog is never going to suffer. Your dog is never going to struggle. Your dog is never going to have discomfort in their lives. Of course, you want that. It's your baby, right?
Right.
But that's not realistic.
They don't learn anything like that, right?
No, you're just creating a spoiled dog and you're not teaching them the pressure of the real life, the pressure of the world. Even when we're born, we are dealing with pressure by learning how to breathe outside of the womb, right?
Right.
It's like there's discomfort. And what I truly believe is there's growth in discomfort. And we can relate in that aspect because we know when we're in situations like, oh, someone's on side control on top of me and I cannot breathe. But instead of giving up, I've been taught to think about it and problem solve through stressful situations. And then what happens when you get out of a situation like that? You're like, ooh, I'm good.
Yeah.
I know how to get out of that situation, right? And it gives
Yeah.
confidence.
I
So
bet the dog feels that too. It's like, oh, I want to do that again, right?
yes, exactly. And I can show you videos. For example, we've seen dogs doing dog diving. And I have a friend that she's a world champion and a regional champion in dog diving, and she's teaching me a lot about it. And there's dog sports, right? Dog diving is when they jump in the pool and they go after a dog. They have to go certain distance, they have to go certain height, etc. But for example, their first experience jumping into a pool from the dog, most dogs are terrified.
Yeah.
So we teach them with a little bit of pressure. And I'm saying I'm not just pushing the dog until it breaks, but I'm teaching them you're not gonna get hurt. You're gonna have the time of your life. Just trust me. And you see the video, and this video I posted it, I remember it had a lot of controversy. And it's us like pulling the dog with the leash and pulling it and pulling it. And everything is not as easy as just pulling. It has a timing, it has a markers, it has proper timing of reward, it has encouragement, we have relationship. There's a lot of work that has been built in order for us to come to this situation and not break the dog. And you see us and we're
Yeah.
pulling the dog, and the dog is like, oh, I don't want to. And you see it with Gaia. Her first time, she's like, oh, and she's like crying, like backing up, like, no, I don't want it, I don't want it. Like her tail's kind of like tucked in. And then she kind of like transitions from that fear to frustration. And it's a
Hmm.
normal curve that happens. So her frustration, how do you know? She starts barking and barking and barking, and we start encouraging her, building her. Yeah, good job. Go, go, go. So she's kind of like, okay, okay, okay. And then at one point you see her, she's like, okay, I'm tired of pulling. Bah! And she jumps. And then she discovers
Interesting.
she didn't die. So
Oh,
she conquered a fear. And fast forward to her fourth session, her third session, she was crazy. She was just going into the duck and jumping herself, like, this is amazing. It was chasing the tongue, right? And it's
right. Yeah.
cool to see it. And you see it in many dogs, especially with behavioral issues, because they're low confidence. And like I said, there's types of training. So the positive reinforcement, force free, which is a marketing scam. And then you
Yeah.
have the compulsive training, and then you have a balance, right? You have some that apply positive reinforcement and use behavior and use all the quadrants. I don't know if you're familiar with Pavlov and Skinner and operant conditioning, etc.
And you're trying to get that balance, right? Like right in the middle.
I'm trying to get that balance, but before that, my priority is build relationship. So I don't like to identify myself with any of this. I like to build relationship and proper communication, and then I can start applying the quadrants and I can start applying behavior. But again, people try to generalize and try to create a system, just like a formula, like A plus B equals, right? And it's not like that. They're living creatures. You have to see the dog for the dog that you have in front of you.
That makes sense. I'm kind of interested. What kind of controversy was on the video that you posted where you were,
Oh my gosh.
what were they saying?
A lot of people cannot tolerate when they see a dog struggling a little bit. And again, like I said, the struggle doesn't mean necessarily that's something bad. And there's ways of doing it the right way, and there's ways of doing it the wrong way. And like I said, I've had mentors that I've learned that I learned with these mentors what I absolutely didn't want to be and didn't want to become. And I have mentors that I learn and I'm like, this is it. This is ideal. This is beautiful. And the controversy is like, why are you doing this to the dog? Poor dog. She's suffering. She doesn't
Mm,
like it. But now
but she'll
imagine,
never learn that, right? She'll never learn.
if I
Yeah.
let her just give up, then this is a dog that is going to give up on everything. It's a dog that's not going to build resilience. It's a dog that's not going to be tough. It's not going to be confident. So I'm just creating a little scared dog of the world and not willing to experience new things because she's scared for her life.
Yeah, for sure. That makes sense.
You need to build that resilience. You need to seek that discomfort and let them conquer in order for them to build confidence, because our main approach and what I believe in is that the best dogs are healthy, happy, and confident.
Yeah, just like humans, right? Like you can't do anything or you have to do hard things in order to learn, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
applies to dogs too.
Yeah, it's a different species, but it's so similar in so many aspects. Just like they also need purpose, right? And that's where I talk about the fulfillment. If I just take you in a routine of like something that I'm not fulfilling you, then you're just like slowly dying and you're not even enjoying life. So what's the point of it? I want a dog that I can give them the best life possible. Cora, oh my God, Alana, Cora has traveled across the country, back and forth. We take her everywhere, goes to hotels, jumps in the pool, goes to the beach, goes to the fields. Like this dog has done everything. If the day comes, when the day comes that Cora passes away, of course I'm gonna be sad, but I'm gonna be so happy that I gave my dog the best life possible.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
makes absolute sense.
that's
It's really beautiful.
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of it. But if I just keep my dog for my own emotional needs and I'm just thinking about myself, like, oh, just come to me because I like to kiss you. And it's like, it's I'm not fulfilling their needs. I'm fulfilling my own emotional, selfish state of mind, which is the reason why most people get dogs.
Yeah, that's true. Uh, I've noticed that a lot of these concepts and things like that, I feel like you can apply that to raising kids too, right? Do you think
I
after, do you
have
think, yeah, do you think after all your experience raising dogs, you think you could raise a kid?
I can raise my child. If I ever have a kid, I think I'm gonna have a really cool kid.
I agree with that.
Because it's behavior, right? It applies and it's cool because in learning a lot about animal behavior, I also learn a lot about, and I'll tell you funny stories, how to interact and deal with different species. So for example, I'm building, and I'll show you, I'm building a community here. You can see that.
Yeah.
I
Oh
have
my
my
God.
those here. So I'm building a community of hummingbirds. So
That's awesome.
I'm teaching the hummingbirds to share. And for example, hummingbirds are very territorial. So when you learn about them, you also learn that if you're a reliable food source, they start learning to share. So sometimes you can see even three hummingbirds sharing the same hummingbird feeder. And I have like five around the backyard.
Wow.
Then you can see them, they scan you. They go in front of you and they just stare at you. And they're like scanning you. They're like analyzing you because you become that food source. I
Interesting.
also built around the academy. I remember I said, Nassar, I might be crazy and I'll show you the videos when I see you. I said, I'm gonna start building relationship with the crows where I live. Oh my God,
Oh, there's so many crows where I live.
I made a
There's so
problem
many.
for myself. Yes, I started feeding them and I started becoming their food source. And then I was walking, it got to a point that I'm walking and they were like perching around me, calling each other, and they were following me, Alana.
Really?
I
Oh
looked
my
like the
gosh.
crazy crow lady. One time I called into my apartment in the balcony and they were coming and there were like five there sitting. And I have a video of them close to me.
Oh, that sounds kind of cool though. You have like an army of crows behind you, right?
Yeah. Like it's like I said to answer your question of like kids, for example, and behavior. Yeah, it can apply because it's behavior, right? And it's
Right.
just
Yeah.
trying to see each species for what they need.
Wow. That's so interesting.
It is.
I don't know. I never thought you could like, I don't know, train those birds. Is that training kind of?
Yeah, it's communicating with them. It's using their source of motivation and using it in your advantage to create a bond.
So that you can scare all the kids on your block
Right?
with your army of crows.
I have
That's so cool.
I have a friend that she's super cool. She's one of my mentors and man, she's badass. She has llamas in her house that she trains. She
What?
trains chickens. She trains horses, but she doesn't train them in a typical traditional way because horses, I don't know if you know a lot about horses.
Not really,
They're
but I know
trained a
they're
lot.
really smart.
Yeah, they're very smart, but they're trained with really old school methods, which means a lot of like force and a lot of like punishment and a lot of like, no, you have to do this and that. And the way that she teaches them is so cool. And you see the horses doing things that you would never even imagine a horse doing. The dog just doing the hula hoop. The horse just like working like this, paw, paw. She takes the horse and she goes on walks with her wild horse because it was a wild horse
Oh, wow.
around where she
Dang.
lives. And she goes to the bar. They bring her like beers in her bucket.
What? Oh, no way. That's crazy.
It is very cool. So yeah,
That's
it
so interesting.
applies.
Are you ever gonna go like large scale like that, train a llama or
Oh my God, I would love to.
that
I'm
sounds cool.
waiting to get chickens here and start training chickens too.
You should train them to give you eggs, like
It is
more than
so
usual,
cool.
like legs for me. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
right. Feed me.
I'm sure they already would, but oh, I want a legs for Laura. That'd be so cool.
It's cool. It's cool. It's very
That's
nice to
so
understand. It's like a
interesting.
superpower.
Yeah, that sounds like a superpower. Okay, so anyways, just to wrap up, if you had just one, maybe two pieces of advice for any like regular dog owners who maybe are listening to this or want to learn more about their dogs, what piece of advice would you give maybe if they weren't able to contact you or, they just want to learn more and have more success in their relationship? What do you think?
So the first advice would be, do not put your emotional needs above your dog's needs. Learn to understand your dog, and that you can only learn with a lot of education or seeking someone that knows about it and can teach you. And you can give them a really good life like that. And the second one is like, don't think that dog training is just creating robots and commands. Is what we do is mostly help you build a better relationship. Even though you think you have one, you might get a better one after you learn to communicate with your dog, because it's all about communication. And if you learn how to communicate with this species, your relationship is going to thrive. Those would be
Got
like
it.
my
So
piece of advice.
that makes a lot of sense. And one day when I hopefully get a dog, I'm gonna rewatch this video and learn all about it.
Right?
So I can train my dog. Yeah, better than everyone else. It's gonna be so cool.
Yeah. It's cool.
Okay, great.
Having a cool dog is the coolest thing ever. And it's not about a dog that is just control and like a robot, like I said, but it's a dog that's happy. Like, man, whenever people tell me that Gaia is super cool, I'm like, good job. I've done a good job.
Good,
Yes.
good job, Laura.
Good
Yeah,
job. Yeah, because
must be really fulfilling.
she had all the boxes in the bingo card to be a dog that can be in the shelter, a dog that someone would give up, a dog that would be really aggressive, really reactive, really fearful of the world. But I put so much work and time with her that when I see her thriving and conquering things that seem impossible, it just makes me really proud. Same with all my dog clients. It's like dogs that you thought they were never going to conquer their fears, and you see them and they're like thriving in the world and their owners are super happy. That's
Yeah,
that's fulfillment for them, and it's fulfillment for me too.
that's really beautiful. And I hope you keep inspiring dog owners and making dogs' lives better every day.
Yes. Me
Thank you
too.
for all you do. That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, anyways, thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk with me today. I learned a lot, and I hope people watch and people learn a lot too. Have a great day. I hope continue to be a difference in dogs and owners' lives, and I'll see you later. Thank you for coming on. Of
Alana. Thank you for the opportunity.
course. Bye.
Bye. See ya.